Brad. Hey, man.
Right.
Good to see
good to see
you.
you.
Yeah.
Let's see that.
I sent Kristen a text, but
yeah.
I said,
wow,
I don't know if you remember me. I said to Kristen, but she said the same thing.
Oh, yeah, she was telling me about your voicemail. But yeah, this is exciting.
Good to
guys
see you.
This looks
Thank
awesome.
you. Thank
this
you.
Is Harper. This is Ada.
Harper,
Ada is almost 1. Harper's almost 5.
Hi, Harper.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Where are your alls?
That's a timely question.
Well, they moved back and they're actually living with us right now.
Oh,
So we have 4 grandchildren.
Whoa.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
fine. Most of the time.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. You remember Alicia? Do you remember Alicia?
certainly.
Yeah. It's
Certainly.
Alicia and Seth, and they're
I
4.
remember Seth as well. Yeah.
Do you really?
Uh-huh.
Excellent.
Yeah, didn't he play the drums?
No, he didn't. Our son did, but.
Oh, that's all right. Well, we were talking all about
Oh, sweet. I'm making a mess of it, aren't I? Oh my goodness. And what do you do when you go to work?
software. Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah,
Yep.
on here on campus.
Oh, really? Okay.
And they're at the daycare
Very cool.
right down, 2 blocks down this way.
Catching up with old friends.
All about one square.
Sweet. Wow. Yep. How fun. Good to see you, Brad. Are we going? I think we are. Yeah, I'm not paying much attention to you guys, but I've said this before. You know you're painting, you know you've settled into a good painting technique or process when you enjoy every stage. And I'm pretty much that way. I love this stage. I'm doing oiled, so I've switched oils, as you can see. And I'm doing very, very thin, very transparent colors. At the moment, I'm doing all warm. Red, yellow, blue, red, listen to me, red, yellow, brown. Red, yellow, brown, that's what I meant to say. Warm stuff. And I will, before I finish this stage, this phase, I will do some cool shades as well. You might ask, why am I doing warm way up there in the blue sky, right? It's going to be a blue sky. Why are you doing brown? That's a good question, because as you know, the sky, in a painting, the sky should rarely, if ever, be a perfect blue. None of the colors we paint with are, nothing on our canvas almost should be a perfect color. I don't know, I'm not talking about, weird, I don't know, kitty colors, kitty paintings, or some weird MFA thing. People earning their MFA. They have to assert their independence and do weird stuff just to get their MFA, Master of Fine Arts. Almost nothing that I say or do has any reference to the loony bird world of MFAs. It's not all loony, but the great majority of this. All right, so I've got warm over the whole thing. Now I'm going to pick up some dioxazine purple without cleaning my brushes, just right on top of the brown that was already there. Let's darken this corner for sure. And I can just do whatever colors I want. There's no right or wrong. I'm painting by eyeball. That's an important principle. Some people have a hard time with that. You don't paint by rule. Ultimately, in the final analysis, good to know the rules, as you hear me say all the time. But that's not the final analysis. Is you paint by eyeball, by how it looks, and that's.
You heard that.
Not true. So as you can see, perhaps if you were with me earlier today, I have moved simply because we weren't getting enough attention from the brides who were coming and going out of this bridal show. So we got permission to move. And the challenge that now, of course, is I can't just lift up my eyes and look at the reference, look at the image. I have the picture on my phone here. I have several pictures, but so right there's one of the main ones I can use, and I can blow it way up, of course, if I need to see, which I will. I'll need to see details, but at the moment I don't need that, so I'll let it rest. One of the main things that I often do at this stage of my paintings, the oil glaze, is I really try to establish the overall composition. Right? Composition refers to the major light and dark areas. Okay? There are elements of design that are like texture and line and so forth. But when we talk composition proper, we're really just talking about the major light and dark areas, right? Okay, I've said that, gone over that so many times here. So with this glazing process, big brushes, transparent color, it's a real easy time to nail down where are my light areas, where are my dark areas. Just the easiest way to do it with transparent colors and big brushes. And I don't always vignette the corners. That is to say, make the corners fade to dark. I'm assuming you all are familiar with that term. But I usually do. Not always. It's not a hard and fast rule. In fact, of course, nothing is a hard and fast rule. All rules can be broken, but there are rules. Just because they can be broken doesn't mean there aren't any. A lot of people make that silly linguistic mistake. It's almost just a matter of semantics. There are rules to painting. People who say there aren't any, they're selling you something, or they're being really screwy with their language. That's all. Not. If they're a good painter, they're painting by the rules. If they're a bad painter, then they may in fact not think there are any rules. And there are a lot of people, a lot of professors that do in fact fit that description. Now I just slandered all professors. Why? Now, I don't know if I want to go philosophical again today, but I've opened the can of worms that far. Here's why. For the last 100 years, 120 years, the art establishment has not been about beauty. It's been about communication. Art is communication. My old friend who taught at Savannah School of Design, he spoke rightly for the establishment. According to the art establishment, art is communication. Let me translate that for you. That means art is for communicating socio-political opinions. So the great majority of art professors in the universities are one of the bastions of art establishment. The professors there are not trying to teach their students how to create good paintings or beautiful, much less beautiful paintings. They're trying to teach them how to function and perhaps flourish in the art establishment. Does that make sense? So that's why when I say most professors are not good painters, well, that's true. They're not trying to be good painters. Any more like than, I already picked on him today, I'll pick on him again. Any more than Willem de Kooning was trying to be a good painter. He was not. He was trying to make a point, make points. I don't mean win points. I mean make points. Make a point. Does that make sense? Okay. Anyway, I'm going to let that go. So I'm still having fun at the moment. I'm having fun. That's good. Establishing my light and dark areas. This corner down here still needs to go darker, so let's pick up some oxide red again and some ultramarine blue and just really plaster that in there. So there, that corner, not only does it go dark, it goes to neutral color as well. So it's really trying to get people not to focus on that corner. It's just there to hold the painting together, but it's not a major visual element. And I like this dark color, so I'm going to do more of it up here. I'm going to stand back and look at this for a moment. Yeah, it's working. The next thing I'm going to do after I finish glazing, which I'm not quite done yet, the next thing I'm going to do is lift out with a rag. So make some light areas, right? So at the moment, I'm doing just a little bit of local color. This is grass down here, so I'm painting some green. My music's going a little crazy down there. It's supposed to be gentle music playing. It's not very gentle. I'm paying for a music service that allows me to have music in the background that is copyright available. I can pay a monthly fee. Since I did green down here, again, it's not a hard and fast rule. This is not the most important part about painting, but yeah, very often, if you do one color in one area, it's a good idea to do it elsewhere. Yeah, I just rocked you guys. You okay? Yep, I think so. Let's do some purple on this roof up here. Especially since I just had green on my brushes. So purple and green makes a lovely, dark, indescribable, I guess is indescribable color. Really, truly, hard to say. What color is that? I'm not sure. Brownish gray is the answer. All right, music, you're doing too crazy. I like it, but it's not appropriate for this moment. Let me change that. Sorry, hang on, folks. There we go. Happiness, in my opinion, is knowing which music is appropriate. All right, I think I'm done with those glazes. Here's a little trick I do. I don't clean these brushes at this point. In fact, they're so cheap, I could just throw them out. I'm not going to do that. But I'll clean them at the end of the day when I'm packing up. Okay, time for a rag. Now, whatever I lift out, of course, is going to appear a little bit lighter. So I'm choosing very carefully, because this will really create a focal point. I think I'll carry this light up here just a little bit. Yeah, I can bring some lightness over here. Focal point quite obvious now. Boom. Or I also had some figures. So, all right, I'm going to take a little break. I'll be back. I'll keep this broadcast going. Let me tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to get out my This is a dark gray roof. But of course it has sunlight on it. So I want to be sure to give the impression of a dark gray roof with sun on it. Right now it's too dark. And again, I've discovered one of the easiest ways to give the impression of correct light is to do it in a messy layer rather than a tight layer. A tight layer, that is one of the stages of the painting process where I'm being more precise. The fuzz layer is by definition imprecise. Does that make sense? Hope I'm making sense to you there. So again, I discovered it's a lot faster to make these corrections in one of the messy layers, which the fuzz layer is probably the messiest of all layers. Well, no, the initial abstract craziness is the most messy. And are you hearing me? Sound is good. Okay. Sorry about that. Thank you, David, for the heads up. The upper windows of the top roof line is weird. Upper windows. Up here? Or do you mean here? David must mean here. I will take a look at that, David. I'll take a picture and look at a mirror image of it. I did not do that. And see if I see what you're seeing. So finally now I am down to the light paint here. And again, if I want it to look like the sun is, as I do, I want it to look like the sun is really just blistering, smashing, glancing, blowing off this part of the building, which I do, then I make it messy, I make it loose. Hard edges do not suggest intense light. They suggest low light. But soft edges like this convey the feeling of intense light, which of course is what I want. Now, this part of the building's in shade, right? The sun is really hitting. Are you still with me? I believe you are. Okay. I believe that there is daylight reflected. That would be the most normal thing. Let me see if that's the case. Yes, yes, yes. Daylight reflected, especially in the upstairs windows over here. So again, in the last stage, I'll come back and tighten this up just a little bit. But for right now, just doing a hint of reflection. Same thing over here. All right. I'm afraid my phone is going to stop broadcasting. I mean, my camera is going to go off any second. So let me tell you where I'm going from here. I am now going to do the last layer of pencil. So here in the last year or so, this order at the end has been rearranged. I used to do pencil early in the oil stage, but then it would all get obliterated by the fuzz layer. So I can see very little of my initial pencil, a little bit, but not much. So I'm going to do it again so I get that scratch line that I like so much. And then I progress to the final edit. I mean, to the last layer, light opaque highlights, which is no longer the last layer anymore because now I've added broken color after that. So, but I still call it the last layer. Okay, and this particular stage, I'll let you see a few minutes of it. It's just a little too fine detail for you guys to watch. If I had a super up close camera, it might be interesting, but I don't. So I'm going to again take another break and let you guys go get something important done today. And I'll do as much pencil wherever I need pencil in this, and then I'll bring you back in for the last layer. Okay? Thanks. Bye. All right. David, thanks for that chat. During the break, I did take a photograph, as you know. I took a photograph of it and then did a flipped. And there was some tiny tweaking that I've marked with pen. Anyway, it's close. Thank you for the heads up. But they are smaller to bigger. Here there's a railing in front of those, so blocking it. All right. Anyway, I am down to finally the last layer, and which I have typically called, well, I typically called it the light opaque highlights, or more recently, final edit. And it's now harder edges, more opacity. So this is the point at which, if there's something on the canvas that I don't like from all of my messy craziness, at any point whatsoever, if I've left a mark that I find unpleasant, now's the time to fix it. What I find surprising is how rarely the really messy stuff bothers me. In other words, it rarely bothers me. So I don't have to do too much fixing, not as much as I would think. And the three typical places to start are, good to see you, Bradley. The three typical places to start this final layer are, let's hang out a second to turn my iPad back on. The lightest, brightest, whitest part of the area. part of the painting, or the focal point of the painting, or the farthest away, which is sky. Often two of those overlap. Like in this case, the brightest area of the painting and the focal point are one and the same. So that happens not infrequently. So I'm in fact going to start here at the focal point, and I really do want to see details now. As with every other layer, the most important aspect of the marks that I'm making is that they be interesting. Accuracy is secondary. Interestingness is foremost. That's been the case in every layer. But I just want you to know that even when I'm here at ostensibly the tightest phase of the painting process, that is still the rule. Interesting trumps accurate. But as you heard me say earlier, perhaps, I am still very interested in accuracy. But it has to be a kind of accuracy that is not the product of fastidiousness. In fact, painting with my wrong hand is one of the best ways in the world to keep me from slipping into over fastidiousness. I like that word, you can tell. Oh boy. I'm looking at this balustrade. I think that's what it's called, or railing, whatever you call it. It is so complicated, it's kind of ridiculous. I'm not even necessarily going to try to replicate every aspect of it. Okay, but here I am again, though, that I'm painting a highly repetitious motif. Okay, motif is a pattern or an object, a thing. So as you can see, that there's a whole bunch of this all across here, 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 and here, and here, all the way across there. Is this same railing, ornate. I would call it, I'm not sure, I'm not an expert, but I would call it Chippendale. And the only reason I know that word at all is because we lived in a house once. We owned a house that had a Chippendale railing. And I think that's what this would be characterized as well. But it's a fancier Chippendale than what we had. Not surprisingly, eh?
Really gorgeous. Oh, yeah, okay. Where's the ballet guy?
Madam.
I've also adjusted my seat to sitting down in case you didn't notice. Usually after sitting for a few minutes, I lose patience with sitting down and I'll be standing back up again. But better to stand up and paint to a point, and then after a point, it's like, oh, tiredness trumps betterness. The betterness of standing up gets trumped by sitting down, by tiredness. Oh, battery's dead.
And Celine Nutter.
Hello, Celine. Good to meet you.
So, are you involved in the wedding? Yes.
Yes, yes.
What do you do?
So, for instance, repeated motif. I've done now 3 of those mullions with a palette knife. I'm going to do a couple this way. At that point, I better figure out some other way to render that repeated motif, or it will become boring. Okay, so the most obvious, now first of all, it's already been rendered several times, of course, in the acrylic and maybe even some of the oil layer, I don't remember. So I've already got variations going. So now, instead of using a palette knife, in fact, there, a little bit of messy. Instead of using a palette knife, I am using brushes. Okay, next rule, if you will, is if you watch me often, you've heard this many times. Let me repeat it for those who are new. Once you get into the opaque realm of oil painting or acrylics, but into the opaque. Now, some people paint opaque the entire time, so this rule applies to their painting from beginning to end. For me, all my layers of paint up until this point have been transparent or translucent. So this is, I haven't been painting in an opaque manner until right now. So once I get to the opaque stage, then here's a very, very helpful rule. After you put down a color, doesn't matter what color it is, but I'm talking light color here. Opaque is light. You get light with you get light with opaques, dark with transparents. Okay. So to say that it's light opaque is redundant. Okay, once you put down a light color, as I have done in the last several minutes, you come back and apply a second slightly lighter color on top of the earlier, on top of the color you just put down. Slightly lighter on top of this, what was then becomes slightly darker. Okay? Almost always looks good. And there are not that many things in the painting world that you can say almost always about. Right? So this is one of the few nice. Keeping these same brushes here and switching to a darker, almost a yellow ochre. It has some yellow ochre in it to do this Chippendale railing and so on in the shade. Now it's already hinted at, so I don't need to do the whole thing. Just a few touches here and there.
Live event painting?
You know what?
Way out of our budget. Beautiful. Is it was early? We walked in first. He was very windy.
Again.
How long does it take to make something, you know, yeah.
Do you do the live wedding?
I do.
Portraits?
Yes.
Perfect.
That's what I do.
Okay, I need your card.
Oh, good. Excellent. Nancy? That woman with the spiky hair, she's the one. Forgive me, I am selling here today, of course. So.
What's going on?
Oh wait, yeah. But I've been trying to find a life.
Oh, fantastic.
So yeah.
You get one of these. A lot of other people stay cartoonish.
Yeah.
So he has two different styles. One is like signature. Whatever size you want.
Yeah.
Dan,
Mm-hmm.
you can answer specifically this question.
Yes. Yes. But, oh yeah, but these aren't, I don't paint this size.
Oh.
No, these are teeny B. These are just prints.
They're big. Okay.
Yeah,
Like
right.
that.
Yes, exactly.
So about how much does?
Same price for every size. In other words, you want me to do a painting this size? You're bad luck. It's going to cost you the same as if I do this, but because I'm there to entertain, show off,
Right.
and
It's for the.
guests. I mean, plus anyway, it's a different event. So 3,200
Okay.
for any size.
Okay.
And if you're all looking, I beg of you to get online and compare all the wedding paintings you can find. Okay?
Right. Yeah, that's what she was saying.
Please.
Yeah, but they're beautiful.
The more you study, the better I will look. So I want you to know you're getting the best.
What does it take for you to do?
Well, I used to always finish during the reception. More and more people lately have been wanting what is here called the signature style, which is very portrait-ish. In which case, I usually stay, well, if it's local, I just finish it as soon as I can. If I'm across the country, I stay one more day and finish it on Sunday.
Right.
Yeah.
But we do travel.
I like this tomorrow.
So is your wedding going to be local?
In Raleigh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
so you
that's
don't have to
local.
travel
I'll
across
go
the
home,
country.
sleep in my own
Yeah.
bed.
We like that.
So do you live in Raleigh?
We live in Goldsboro, actually. Now,
Okay. Yep.
Carolina Country Club.
Yep.
So I would want maybe like a painting of us during the first dance.
Yep, probably. I've done 2 or 3 or 4 at Carolina Country Club.
Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah, good. Yeah, so please do look around. Don't just pick me because you saw me here today. Do your homework. And if you find somebody better, oh, please tell me. Because I get all the time, if I'm booked, I say, I'm sorry, I'm booked. And then they say, next question, can you recommend somebody else?
Right.
And I go, oh, I wish I could. I mean, it sounds like, oh, it's so great to be the best. It stinks.
I know what you mean.
So that's right. So well, lovely. Thank you.
Thank
Would
you
love
so
to paint for you.
much.
Do you have a date by any chance?
May 2020. The first
Okay.
one.
I don't have any 2020 weddings.
We still have time.
Excuse me, folks. Sorry about that. I got a little bit of business. Okay, I just moved you again, didn't I? There we go. Okay, so I'm in here now trying to paint. Paint some of the stuff in the shade. Stuff in the shade, stuff in the shade. It must be getting late. I'm getting slap happy. So as you can see, I'm playing an awful lot here in this painting with lost edges, with sharp focus, details, fairly accurate rendering, very, very low detail. And when a little while ago I was saying I've been on this quest for a number of years to paint more accurately and more messy at the same time. I was thinking after I said that some non-artists perhaps or beginner artists would say, well, I don't get what's the problem. You just roll up your sleeves and do some drawing, right? No, the answer is no, because the accuracy must be born out of freedom, not born out of fastidious, is a word I've used today, mostly, not born out of over tightness. Okay? So no, you can't, it's not just a matter of rolling up your sleeves and drawing more carefully. It will not produce the effect that I want at all. So I've got to figure out how to indicate in detail, if you will, without drawing detail. Does that make sense? Easy to draw detail. Anybody can do that. That's not the challenge I face. Okay? Whew. All right, now I'm going to come back to some light stuff over here. Again, very close to the center of interest, close to the focal point. So once again, quite much in focus and realistic. And again, you have to put the word realistic in quotation marks, wouldn't you? It's not the kind of realism I didn't quite finish, darn.
How long does it take you to complete a painting?
Normally 7 hours is my guess. So if it's a nice long reception, it goes till midnight, I finish. And I started this at 11, so 5 hours. So yeah, I'm about 2 hours short of being finished. But I decided to take it home because I like it well enough to finish it well instead of rushing through. Yeah.
Well, it was really nice to meet both of you.
Likewise.
Nancy.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, am I broadcasting? I think I am, and I missed the chat again there. So you just heard me say I didn't finish. A little disappointed. I was really hoping to finish today, but again, I've only been painting for 5 hours. And a 30 by 40 usually is a 7-hour job. And that sounds about right, about 2 hours. The good news is I'm quite happy. I'm quite happy with the painting. And so it's worth taking home. A little bit of drawing issues way up here. Let me make a mark right now just to make sure I don't miss it. This gable needs to come up a little higher. But all that kind of stuff, the final edit is where I try to make corrections. Really liking the way this area is talking. And of course that is the focal point. The only question is how much light and energy to take to other parts of the canvas. And of course the answer is the right amount. In other words, you don't know what is the right amount until you do it. Let me do one little tiny thing before I leave you that will have quite an impact on the appearance of the painting, on the look of the painting. Thank you very much. And that is a little bit of the blue sky up here. So I'm picking up some, well, that's supposed to be phthalo, but it's ultramarine. Evidently my piles of paint got corrupted somewhat. Okay, so I'll start with the dark blue then. Nope, too dark. So let's zoom in here just for a minute. So you see all this interesting underpainting. In fact, see that yellow right there? That's part of the very first layer. That was pure abstract. The red here as well. That was just part of the abstract stuff that I put down at the very beginning of the painting. And as you can imagine, we will do our best to avoid, resist the temptation to blot out, or to obliterate those interesting marks. We definitely want to retain some of that. How much? I don't know. I feel like when you're painting, really, so many of the decisions you make, it's like a chef, like a gifted cook or chef, standing in front of his pot of whatever he's cooking. And you taste it, and then you adjust it. You taste it, and then adjust it. Taste it, adjust it. A good chef doesn't open a cookbook and slavishly copy what the cookbook tells them, right? You can't cook by rules. Same thing with painting. I can't say, well, I want to reduce this. I want to cover this up 40%. I mean, maybe I can guesstimate that that's what it's going to be. But anyway, I'm painting, as I said earlier today, painting by eye, not by recipe, not by formula, not by rules, by eye. And that's where you always paint. You always paint by eye. And again, I'm not contradicting myself because other times I say there are rules. I'm not contradicting that. Let me go back to the chef. The chef knows that if he puts Noritake mushrooms in this sauce, it's going to have a certain effect. See, I don't know. I'm not a cook, so I don't know. But he has to know what this or that, what effect will be. So he does know the rules, but he doesn't cook by the rules. He cooks by taste. And the painter doesn't paint by rules. You paint by eyeball. You paint with your eyes. Anyway, I've done enough of that. So I was answering the question, how much of, for instance, of this yellow, that red, this green, will I allow to show through? The answer is, I have no idea. I'll have to taste and see. I'll have to paint and then decide how much. Very soft edges up here, as you can see, because hello. Thank you. And I don't want a lot of energy. I don't want a lot of attention going up here. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. But just that little bit of blue will make quite a big difference in the overall appearance of the painting, as you can see. All right, I'm going to call that a wrap. I will be finishing this painting later this week, I hope, and I'll hopefully bring you guys in when I do that. Thanks again for your company. It's been a fun day. I look forward to getting home and propping up my feet. As soon as I paint this window, of course. People are coming out. I'm going to have to talk to them. Thanks, guys. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.